Hello, folks, and welcome to another Thursday Night Live. Patrick, my co-host James, as always, and tonight we've got a very special guest. Tonight we've got an individual, April Burrows from Flow Office Wisdom, and this is a little bit more in my wheelhouse in regards to kind of the topics that we're talking about, but with a very unique kind of spin on it. So April's got, she started this business a few years ago. She calls herself the business hippie. And I think that's a really interesting way of putting things, the business hippie. And she was looking around the business world and was trying to figure out a way to handle the back end of your business, the administrative, the project management, the bookkeeping, marketing, communication stuff, but also be able to do it with a bit of a passion for some of the softer side. So here at Soaring Profits, I tend to be more of the business side. James seems to be a little bit more of the soft, touchy-feely stuff. And April, ironically, right between the two of us for this podcast this evening, and it works out just lovely. So, April, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. And I want to ask you, because you started, obviously, with Flow Office Wisdom, great, unique name, being the business hippie that you are, but you've also done this Connected on Purpose. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about what Connected on Purpose is, how it marries back into the Flow Office program, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so Flow Office Wisdom was sort of designed to support businesses and nonprofits get their goals off the ground. So I had worked in the consulting world as a general manager, and the amazing team that I worked with did all these great strategic plans and helped really organizations define who they were and put the plans in place. And then often they wouldn't have the person power to get those plans off the ground. And so I came along thinking there's a gap here. We could be a source to help these plans get off the ground. And so we've been virtual, by the way, for way before COVID happened. So for the full 10 years, we've been virtual. And so we took on that piece. But as I've been listening and working with hundreds of businesses and nonprofits over the last 10 years, I noticed that often business owners might start down this path of they really like to do this, really like to do that. But then they would get overwhelmed with all the details that had to happen, all the decisions that have to be made. And then, you throw something like COVID in the middle of it. And eventually that passion fizzles away. So, and actually it kind of happened to me too in that way. Now I'm a bit of a dreamer. Not a bit of a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I'm just going to say it. I'm a dreamer. I believe in possibilities, always have. Always gone after things that made me feel more empowered and more purposeful about who I am. And I saw this gap happening with more and more people with, are they really living a life that they love? Are they really making a difference the way they want to make a difference? Are they making the money they want to make? Are their relationships strong and healthy? Are they physically, emotionally healthy? Right. And most of the time, some, if not all of those pieces were not there. And so then I've gone on this journey of, first of all, starting to talk with more and more leaders about topics like this and getting to understand how leaders are thinking, and especially the successful ones. And been wanting to know more about that. And then I started a journey myself of like, okay, so what do I want my life to look like? And of course, things just kind of came to me. Maybe not, of course, for some people, but it seems to happen to me. Like I might have had the book on my shelf for the last 10 years. And then all of a sudden it's the book I pick up and it's exactly what I needed. And I think to myself, why didn't I read it? Obviously, I was attracted to the book because I saw it on my shelf. But then I realized I probably wasn't ready. I wasn't ready yet for that book. And now I'm perfectly ready to learn the lesson that it has to teach me.
Right.
And I started just being attracted to books like Vivid Vision, things about visioning and how we can go after what we really want. And so then Connected on Purpose just started morphing into being the piece of the business that we call it a division of the business that is working with leaders and organizations on vision, culture, strategy, being a whole holistic human at the front and of those businesses, at the helm, so to speak. Yeah.
So April, when you decide to start this, again, myself, I'm a multi-time entrepreneur. The things that you're talking about bring me to a book that I have put in the hands of so many people after reading it myself, and that's the E-Myth. I don't. Have you heard of the E-Myth book?
I have. I've read it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You are the pivot, like you are the absolute answer to those people's terrors. And often is the problem with young entrepreneurs or people that are starting their business is that the great example that they use in the E-Myth book is that, you've got this woman who makes fantastic pies, and she loves making pies. And her family say to her, "You should open a bakery." And then all of a sudden, for those of you that haven't read the book, the story, and it goes by chapters and it talks about entrepreneurial processes. And you make the best pie in the world. Your family loves you. They tell you you make great pies. You need to sell these. You need to be very passionate about your process. And then you go, "I'm going to do it." And you end up opening up your bakery on Main Street in X village, town, wherever you are. And then you fail to realize that you are now HR. You are now policies and procedures. You are now an insurance delegator. You have all of these hats. And it sounds like, April, you start to take some of these hats off of people and put solutions in place. Can you touch a little bit about how you go through that and what kind of help are you providing for people?
Mm-hmm. So in Flow Office Wisdom, that is exactly what we do. We try to focus the entrepreneur or leader's skill set on what they're actually really good at and take the pieces that they're not great at. You can't, I guess you can be good at everything, maybe. I don't know. I don't know anybody yet who's good at everything or passionate enough to keep consistency with everything. But if an owner is really good at the marketing piece, then keep doing the marketing thing. If that floats your boat, you really feel good about it, go for that. But the bookkeeping thing just drags you down. It's just like, it's like I can barely give you, 2 pieces of paperwork to help you make this happen. Then pass it over to somebody who actually loves doing bookkeeping or loves doing social media or loves doing policies and procedures or HR work. So pass that off to somebody and stick to doing the thing that you're best at. And that actually makes you feel joyful every day.
Right.
Because the pies aren't going to feel very joyful if you are really hating everything else that you're doing and feeling like it's bogging you down.
No, I just want to thank you for coming on, April. I think it's amazing that you're here. When Lisa Browning sent you us, the wonderful Lisa Browning from 1000 Trees, I was so happy to hear what you're doing. I think it's amazing how you're helping people achieve their goals. And that's what we're all about here at Soaring Profits, learning how to raise each other up. And it sounds like you're the perfect mentor for a lot of people. It's funny that you say what you're saying, because I recently had this happen. I used to, for a year, every day, I put a statement on just like something inspirational on Facebook, and I made these messages, and I kept on doing it and doing it and doing it, and people kept on saying, "Oh, you should write a book. You should write a book." Lisa came to me, said I should write a book. So I stopped doing it on Facebook and started sitting down at the typewriter, the computer. I could not do it. I couldn't bring myself to sit there and do it. When I was doing it just for fun, it was easy. When I was doing it for me, like because I had to, because it was work, I couldn't do it. So you were talking about inspiration and going into like finding businesses and helping them. And I a lot of the stuff that I watch, the big companies talk about, if you don't have that inspiration, that drive, that one mission that everyone in the company knows and is aware of and follows behind, your company is likely to fail. If it's just, if your mission is money, you're not going to do it. So how do you help someone who thinks they have a mission, that comes to you and goes, "Hey, I got a mission. It's make money." How do you help them? How do you help them get in there and figure out what they need?
Sure. Well, if it's just to make money, I'd probably ask why. What do you want that money for? What do you love? What are you passionate about? What's your big why behind the money? If it's all about, I want to look good in front of other people, then it's never going to make you happy. It really isn't. But if you like, for me personally, part of my money why is I have a few key charities. I'm on the board for one where I want to give more. I want to give more in my life. I want to leave a legacy for my children. I have some other dreams that I'm working on. So I know why I want money. It's not money for the sake of money. There's a big why behind it. I believe flow, office wisdom, that word flow is for a purpose, because money is not meant to just stay there and gather dust. It's meant to flow. It's meant to create, to create something that makes your life meaningful. And it's different for everybody, very different. So I would ask why. I would start to dig into why. And then I'd ask a simple question. What do you love? What do you love?
Right.
You're not going after what do you love? What's the point of doing it? You know? So those are two simple things that I might do for somebody who is not really showing signs of why the money matters to them. Right.
Well, I think that's an interesting way to start with that. And it's something that is uniquely generational, I think, is that I'm looking at all my friends and my generation. I'm kind of a millennial. And it's like, I'm doing it for the Lambo. I'm doing for the big boat, the house, all the cars, the women, all the things that go along with that. And those are very unfulfilling once you achieve them. Right. And that's where it seems like, and I come back to this because I think the way that you market yourself and you advertise yourself as, the business hippie, I think that is a really cute and unique way of doing it, is that to add purpose to something where you end up in a situation where your marketing matters, your positioning matters, why you're doing something matters. And if it's only about the bottom line, that's burnout material. Right? Like there's so much about that you are just done at the end of the day. So I very much appreciate that. So in your business, are you providing like software solutions? Are you providing tangible people that are going to be managing these processes? Give me a little bit more about the meat and potatoes about Flow. And what is your core product line? Like who is your customer?
Mm-hmm. So in Flow, we provide people hours to do the work. Bookkeeping, marketing and communications, HR, policy writing, project management, whatever you need in a back office, it's people behind that. And our target market, if you want to use that language, is really our sweet spot is the 5+ years.
Okay.
So those starting businesses, they're doing a lot of it on their own, and they think they need to do a lot of it on their own, and they're working things out. But we're looking for more of the mature person who realizes that they can't do it all on their own.
Yep.
And that they're starting to understand what they're getting really good at. So if you're trying to do everything, then you're likely going to burn out. But if you start to realize, I'm actually really good at this piece, I'm really good at that piece, and the business is I'm really understanding that this is really what we want to offer, and this is our sweet spot, then it's easier for us to pick up and create some pathways forward for them. We always start with a goal. Ideally, I'd like to start with a whole vision, but most people don't go there right away. But we start with like, what's your goal? And then we can kind of work backwards from there. We are very much grounded in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know it's a really old book, and a lot of books have come after that, but start with the end in mind is so key. So even if it's a little goal, we'll start with that goal. If you know something broader, we'll start with that. And then we work backwards from there to see how can we best serve and what's the most efficient and effective way to do that.
Well, you said exactly that, April. And I think that all too many entrepreneurs, especially young ones, they watch a couple podcasts, they watch a couple videos, maybe on YouTube, and they figured they can go and tackle something. And the unfortunate part about that whole process is that they're not systems driven. They go out and they start a roofing company. They sell pies. They do whatever they're going to do. They come up with, the next great widget. However, they don't kind of reverse engineer the lifestyle in which they want to live. And that is really, honestly, the toughest part of this. The business side of things, you can create a really cool product. You can create a really good service. If you can't implement that at a high level over and over and over and over and over again, replicatable, expandable, scalable, you're dead in the water. And unfortunately, you're going to get eaten by the sharks. And it's awesome that you're offering these services. So when somebody comes in and chats with you as a young entrepreneur, let's kind of go through a bit of a case study, if you will. When they come into you and they say, look, I've got a roofing company. I've got, $150,000 a year in sales. I've got a very rudimentary Facebook presence, maybe a small website. what's the first question you're pushing back to these people?
Back to, what do you want?
Okay.
You can say, what do you love? What do you want? What are they looking for? I have worked with small business owners really who wanted their business to be a small family business.
Right.
They weren't looking to create. So everybody thinks it has to be this great big thing.
Right.
They weren't looking to create that. They wanted a sustainable, low stress business. This is how much money they want to make. They're not looking for the big hype. So maybe they don't need social media. Maybe they need something like word of mouth. Maybe they need a word of mouth campaign. Not everybody has to do every single marketing thing that's out there. There's so many of them that you wouldn't be able to do it anyways.
Right.
But pick something that's doable and that will support them to get where they want to go. Not where I want them to go, but what do they want? What are they trying to create? And we help them create it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So hopefully that answered the question, because I've actually forgotten the question.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it does, is that you're going back and you're asking them the who, what, where, when, and why. You're going through the process with them. James and I have a mutual friend here. He owns a mechanic shop. And James and I, we were golfing with him the other day, had lunch with him. Great guy. But he's getting the age now where he's looking about like, what's next? What does retirement look like? And I was sitting there and we're having lunch, we're eating steak. And I couldn't help but think is that like the plans that he's looking to implement over the next, 3 years or so in his timeline should have been done 20 years ago. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy and it's like, I just want to take you and I want to just like the things you could do right now with the business that you've built for yourself over the last 25 or 30 years of his career. If someone had taken you just like April and shook you and said, systems, this guy would be long retired. He would be able to do the things that he wants to do. And now he's trying to figure out a succession plan that is a little bit problematic. He doesn't know what's next. And this sounds like
unfortunately, he was everything in this business. He did all the bookkeeping, all the getting people in, and also all the work. He had guys under him, but he really micromanaged it in such a way that without him, the business model won't work as effectively. And so that's why he's struggling moving away from it.
I can tell you, even if it feels like 20 years ago, if he can identify what he would love, what he really wants, it might not take as much time as you think it might. If you can stay focused on it and take one step after the other. Like every mountain is climbed by one step after the other, but it really does matter how clear you can get with the vision you want for your life. And maybe I'm a little woo-woo, and that's why I call myself a business hippie. But things like I said, the books that fall off my shelf, literally fall off my shelf. Although I've heard people that has happened where I just like, oh, I forgot about that book. I haven't read it yet. And it's like, it's exactly what I need. Yeah. Things do start to fall in place in ways that you can't imagine. If you really get clear on what you want and you put it out, that's what you're looking for, and you believe it and you start taking action on it. Yeah. That's actually a lot of what Connected on Purpose does, is about the envisioning and then getting clear on that and then starting to take little actions.
Right. I totally see that, April. Like, so when I make a goal, so the way I do goals sounds very similar to you. We just call it different things, is that I make a macro goal and then micro goals to back it up. So my macro goal may be run a marathon. My micro goal is what can I do to lead up to that marathon in small doses? And then I break it down and I don't have to worry about the macro goal anymore, because that is what I'm going to. That will naturally evolve. I'm going to start the micro goals. And every time I've started doing something like that, I'll meet a person, I'll find a video, I'll mention it to the right person, and they'll be like, oh, you know what? I know this person, and they know all that. They'd be a great mentor for, what you're doing. They can teach you how to run, or there's a club that you can do. And I think once you start immersing yourself in the goal, in your vision, in exactly what you want to do, and you're laser focused, the pieces come into your world. Is that what you're finding?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I think, is that Google just heard me say that? And that's what, which I think kind of happens too, although I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to give it, but then.
The tech overlords are onto us again. No, it's wild. No. So tell us a little bit more about the Connected on Purpose and how it fits. Because it sounds like you've done some podcasting. So welcome to the club. And so how did you take that, connect it on purpose, and bring it back to the flow? I'm going to call it flow because I feel like I'm going to mess it up otherwise.
Yeah, everybody calls it flow.
Office.
If you live in this community around here, you'd hear it as flow. Yeah.
Okay.
It really, I've gone through this exact same process that a lot of other entrepreneurs have gone through. And I have been noticing what really fires me up. It makes me feel like I'm living my greatest life, that I'm using the skills and passions and experiences, my own past experiences, and putting them out into the world for good. And really, it is really born out of that. Besides being an entrepreneur, I've been a spiritual director for the last 20 years. So I've worked one-on-one with people in their spiritual lives. I'm now a certified dream builder coach. And I really just like I said to you at the very beginning, my mission is to provide opportunities for people to experience their greatness. So I love writing workshops. I love doing, retreats for people. I like facilitating discussions around vision and mission in nonprofits. I love all that stuff. And it really was born out of that, and seeing that it actually was a missing piece in the organizations that we work with, is that vision piece, if it's not grounded, gets lost in the day-to-day minutia of trying to keep something going. And catch me, I'm saying trying to keep something going. You don't need to try. You need to know what you want and what you would really love. And then that trying becomes, it's easier.
Right.
And then as I continued to listen, I realized, flow does this whole infrastructure piece, really about infrastructure. And whether it's creating policies, processes, writing even procedures, helping come up with systems, doing the systems, it's really about that infrastructure piece. And I'm really about the vision and strategy side of it. And my business partner is actually really about the people side of it. And I got thinking, like, those three pieces are so key for any organization, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, to succeed.
Right.
And from there, I came up with this model called VIP, Vision, Infrastructure, Performance. When you have vision, when you have infrastructure, and when you have performance happening, you can't not succeed. Right. Did I say that right? Yeah. So, yeah. So Connected on Purpose really came from that idea of how do I create a division that makes it so that flow is really clear, that it's all about infrastructure. But I'm really about the vision and strategy side, and the leadership and people side of the organizations.
Are you finding that you're working predominantly with like not for-profit, nonprofit, that type of sector right now? Or are you seeing that? And again, I look at where we are in kind of the business cycle for a lot of stuff. Those of you who kind of check what I do as far as like the market research and analysis stuff on some of our social media, I've been saying that we're in a recession for the last fairly long chunk of time. With inflation the way that it is, our purchasing power is going away. But a lot of companies are maintaining their bottom line and doing quite well, if you will, in regards to their pricing power. They're able to continue to ratchet up the expenditure that they're putting onto the consumer. The issue is that the consumers are starting to dry up. If you look at household debt in Canada, it's skyrocketing. And we're seeing that the consumer is slowly starting to weaken. So that's why I'm asking, are you seeing the not-for-profit side as an increase of your business, or are you seeing a lot of the for-profit entities that are saying, hey, this is something that we still have, we see value in this, we want to continue the growth, and because that's what this is. They're trying to figure out what's next or a foundation for their business.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that I'm seeing, I don't do the sales for Flow, so I'm not sure that I'm the most qualified to answer this question. But my own personal workload is a balance of both entities, both nonprofit and for-profit. What I think I'm seeing more of, because I think the world is shifting to people wanting to have more, what's the word for it? Just more agency about their lives. Yeah. And more passion and to find some purpose. I am seeing more people interested in understanding how can they live, regardless of the economic condition they may be living in, how can they live the best life that they can? And I'm seeing more and more people from all walks of life asking those questions.
Right. Now, are you finding... Sorry, James, go ahead.
Thanks. I really think COVID did that to a lot of people because we were like locked in our rooms for so long. And then as we got to connect with people, we realized how important having people in our lives and doing those outside things outside of our business was a lot more important than the jobs we were doing. And I have a lot of friends that decided that, you know what, I really don't want to do what I do. I'd rather start something new. And a lot of great businesses, a lot of great opportunities have sprung because of it. And I think it's amazing. I had a question because you were talking, you have a nonprofit and a profit kind of model. And I was kind of interested, how do they differ for you? Do they differ for your business? Like, do you have to handle them differently? Do they have different challenges, different things to overcome?
I would say for the most part, they're pretty similar. Who the decision maker is can be different depending on what service we're selling. Mm-hmm. In the nonprofit world, of course, I have to consider a board of directors. If what they're purchasing wasn't in their original budget, then that has to maybe move up to the board level. But other than that, I'm seeing it very much the same. And that actually surprised me. Mm-hmm. I thought that I was going to have to do much more adjusting of how I talked about things in either world. And really, I'm really not having to do that, which is, cool.
Now with that, April, do you find that everyone right now, and again, ESG is something that is a bit of a hot button. You know, there's a lot of pushback in certain respects right now. Environmental social justice and governance, kind of like that. For those of you that don't know what ESG is. But I figure with the title of the business hippie, I figured that you probably have, a certain line that you're looking for. How are you finding that corporations, profit, not profit, how are they handling ESG, and how has that changed over the last, say, 5 years?
Well, I'm not sure that I really know, but I do know that we have worked with a lot of B Corps. Have you heard of that term? B Corp? Yeah. And there's a lot of B Corps who have an environmental focus. And again, I'm not really seeing, not from the work that I'm doing, although I sort of have a niggling of that this is going to change going forward a little bit. So there's a part of me that I'm sort of open to having an opportunity to work with more leaders who have a passion about something and haven't quite been able to implement it into their business, whether it's a community focused, general social justice, environmentally social justice, anything like that, that I think there's more and more businesses out there that could be taking up something that they're passionate about and supporting the work being done to make the world a better place for whatever they're passionate about. I'm on the board of an organization called the Hunger Project Canada. And, as much as we love to have businesses and people support our cause, what we really care about is everybody does something with the passion that's in their heart. What breaks your heart, you should be doing something about.
Right. And
if you do, your life will be better. You just should be. And that's part of the circulation. That's part of the flow. So find out what's you're most passionate about and go do something about it.
Well, and that's, again, the reason why I asked that question is that we look at kind of the corporate strategic missions of some of these big corporations and companies, not for profit, for profits, over the last couple years. And I'm not going to get too political with it because of what we're talking about today, but it has become a hot button topic, whether, whether your aspect is of global warming, there's organizations that pension funds, mutual funds that will not invest unless you have an ESG score of X, whatever it is, they won't throw money into you. And then you have corporations, and again, beer companies, maybe some retail companies that have, put out some ESG missions that have been very problematic, and you've had lots of pushback. And being in the marketing and how that has changed over the last little while, I was wondering if you're seeing a bit of a pivot that people are feeling that the ESG is more important that they have to figure out a strategic position and how they want to move forward with that? Or like it sounds like you're saying, a lot of people are still trying to find, you know, what their passionate is, their niche, and then kind of mixing into that a little bit more.
I don't know that I'm personally seeing that. Again, I think I'm on the other end of the whole service side of the business. But what I would say is I see businesses sort of doing a checkbox, so to speak, of what they think is politically correct,
right?
Or even like a business, they think it's going to help their business. But unless you're truly passionate about it, you're never going to make it work anyways.
Right.
So find something that speaks to you and do something about it. That's where that, and people are they're gonna feel the authenticity of that, right? If you're just,
I think you're exactly right.
Sorry.
No, I think you're exactly right. And reiterating what you just said is that's where sometimes some of these big corporations, when they do the checkbox stuff, it seems so almost like ironically delivered, where if you can get back and you can get a little bit more of that small town feel, you can get some of that like authenticity, as opposed to I'm just checking the boxes because that's what my investors are demanding of me. And it sounds like that's exactly what you folks at Flow are you know, like reinstilling in your people, is the fact that go back to your fundamentals. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? And how do we get there? And then you can put those things into place.
Yeah. I don't like to think go after people for maybe where they're being inauthentic, or they're doing it just they think it's going to help their bottom line.
Right.
I know of some organization that I'm disappointed with, that that the whole idea of greenwashing and things like that, I know them in the back of my mind, but instead I try to focus and find the ones who I believe are really living into, they have found something. Maybe their team got passionate about, I don't know, saving a local park. I don't know, I'm making this up, right? And they go do that. And it might not look at first flash, it might not look like it's actually benefiting the business, but I can guarantee you, if they really look at it, it is. If that team gets together and they're all passionate about this, their productivity will go up, their teamwork will go up. Like, there's ways, but find something. And so I really do try to stay away from thinking about what's not working, because I think sometimes we need to see what's not working in order to know what is working. So some of those things I go, okay, I can see that does not fit for me. It raises a little red flag, but I'm going to just look at what is actually authentic to me, or authentic to Flow, or authentic to some of our clients, and help them navigate themselves in that direction. I believe that what we focus on, we get more of. So when I'm focusing on what I don't want, or what other people aren't doing that I don't like, then I'm just creating more of that in my mind.
I think you're absolutely right. The businesses that have inauthentically just held up a flag, or put a spokesperson up, or changed their mission statement from we're a makeup product to we're a body positive product, after flouting half naked models for years and years and years, and then trying to say that now we're body positive. But none of them are passionate about it. All they're trying to do is change the bottom line and get the people behind the door. But then you see the people that are like, if you buy this T-shirt that's all 100% plant made, we'll plant a tree with the part of the money. And you listen to the CEO, and you listen to the staff, and you talk to the person selling the shirt, and every single one of them has a big smile on their face and can tell you for hours why they're doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's authentic. You want to buy that shirt. You want to be a part of that. And I think that's super important. And it all goes back to what you were saying, is you got to find what makes you passionate so that your business will flow. It's less about, the commercialism, the fake commercialism about it, and more about the authenticity. So how do you find someone, do you sit down with them? Do you how do you go through and find out what is authentic about their company? What can we promote? What direction should we go? And I realize that every time you keep on, and it's very great that you say their mission, not mine. And I think that's beautiful, because there are people out there, some companies that will go, you have to do it this way. And it sounds like that's not what your company does. Your company listens and then assists them in the direction they want to go. But how do you do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, we do an initial intake. We actually have a process, a structure, a repeatable process and structure that we take everybody who knocks on our door, so to speak, through. And some of that is just tell us why, like why, how did you get into this? Why is it important to you? And I can't tell you how many times, I don't do this as much as I used to in the business, but I miss this part of it, is I often had people in tears because they'd forgotten the reason. And that alone can change everything.
Yeah.
And if we can feel your passion, like our creative juices are going for how we can support you, even if it's, I was going to say just bookkeeping, but as a bookkeeper and as a part of it's not just booking, but even that I can tell a story with what has occurred by showing the exact ins and outs of your business financially, and where your assets are sitting and all those sorts of things. I can get passionate about it. I want to do that for you because I want you to see where you're at so you can then envision the next step forward. So it's really always about that why. It really is.
I think
nobody gives it up right away, but you can get little bits of it. I personally tend to ask the questions that they don't expect that get them to tell me things.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I think that's the whole thing, April. And I think that your business comes from a really unique place, right? And I keep coming back to this business hippie piece, because if you are simply, and I have sat down with some of the best accountants that I can pay for, and they go through the books and they are like, it's painful. It's an awful process sitting down across from somebody, and they have brilliance in what they're trying to put, but they have no way of explaining it. They have no passion in delivering it themselves. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, they don't care about your business other than just making sure that the books are kept. And it seems like what you folks are doing is a little bit different. You're bringing a little bit of personality into something that otherwise could be like paint drying, right? There is a lot of stuff to this that is not sexy, but it's where you make your money. At the end of the day, you can have the greatest widget, like we said, but if you don't know how to finish your books, get it all done, send a mission and vision it there, you're dead in the waters. And that's where, someone like yourself to come on here. And again, you've got what you're doing here with the Connected on Purpose. Flow obviously is providing a great product and lists of services. And how does somebody get in touch with you? What is the process to come in, get in touch with April, and start putting this together for themselves?
Yeah, well, we do have a Facebook page, and you can drop a message in there, Flow Office Wisdom. We do have a website, flowofficewisdom.com. We're on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You can message me personally. Happy to chat with anybody through those venues, or drop us an email at info@flowofficewisdom.com.
Right. So what I have here now is I'm going to pull up your website here, and I was in the career opportunities. So again, the services that you folks offer, beautiful website, by the way. So administrative and project management, bookkeeping and finance management. And I think that's the big one. When you have some of the cookie cutter services that are out there, QuickBooks is kind of the first one that comes to mind. Is that it's lovely, but it has some of its limitations. What do you folks offer in far as that? Are you tailor making something, or are you putting those services as well as some of the back end as well? What are you folks doing as far as the bookkeeping and finance?
We mostly use QuickBooks as well. We still have a few clients in QuickBooks Desktop. We still have, for good reasons. I know the difference. I've been doing bookkeeping for a very long time.
Yes.
And then we use QuickBooks Online, but we also have other, we've chosen some other products that work well with QuickBooks in order to streamline some of the processes and make it easy. We are fully virtual, so we're using a lot of tools to help our clients become more virtual, more efficient in the paperwork. What my operations manager always says, if you're touching a piece of paper more than twice, you are not being efficient. And so if you're touching like a virtual piece of paper more than what, you are not being efficient. So we really work on efficiency and trying to save people time so that they can do more of what they're good at and more of what they love.
More bacon pies.
Yeah, you're now in the workshop. So this is really as much as I'm sort of the team lead for the bookkeeping department, I kind of manage that. This is really where you're seeing my passion come out in the whole workshops and training piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Can you tell us about what the Dream Spirit program is? Or
the Dream Builder program.
Dream Builder. Yeah. What is a Dream Builder coach?
Yeah. So what I do is, first of all, I have a vision workshop that I do, and it's free for anybody. I actually have one coming up a week from Monday, I believe. I think that's the 19th of July. And we look at 4 areas of your life: time and money freedom, vocation, health and well-being, and love and relationships. We're looking at all 4 of those. We call them domains of your life. And what I do is I help people get in touch with those areas so we can live a life by default. We can live a life by default, or we can live a life by design. And this is living a life by design. And I love this for leaders because leaders have the ability to impact positively on many people. So when a leader is living a life by design, they automatically, this ripple effect starts to happen, and other people are getting a sense of what does it mean to live a life by design. And so the Dream Builder program is all about that, living a life by design instead of default. And what I do is I help people understand that there's circumstances and conditions, like talk about bookkeeping. This works great with that. So your books might show a picture that you don't really love at the moment, but it's just a circumstance or condition. It can be changed anytime. And it often can be changed by a thought about how you're thinking about money, right? You have those thoughts of like, oh, it's, you have to work really, really, really hard all the time and burn yourself out. And that's the only way you're going to get ahead. Well, guess what? That's what's going to happen. You're going to have to work really, really hard all the time, So your bookkeeping is a picture. It's a snapshot in time about a circumstance and condition. But then if you can move beyond that and say, well, what would you really love? You can start walking in that direction, putting one foot in front of the other and see a different picture for yourself. So the time and money freedom domain, we would get more into that section about like, what are your beliefs about money? Do you believe that there's not enough for everybody?
Right.
Sometimes I think when we were talking about those companies that might be greenwashing or those sorts of things, I believe it comes from a belief that there's not enough. And
that's interesting. Why do you say that?
Because they're going after something that is actually not authentic to who they are. So they're just going after it for the money. If you're going after it for the money, then you believe that there isn't enough and you have to do something that's not authentic to get it.
I love that. That seems so real. And when I look at brands that are exactly like you're saying, that greenwashing, they come across as so inauthentic about so many aspects of it. And it feels like it's I got to get you and then get out of town. It's the snake oil type persona. The carnival's in town for a weekend. I got to make as much money as I can and then get out of Dodge. Like that is such a unique way of putting it and so well said. That's very cool.
Thanks. Just came to me.
Yeah, no, it's good, but it's so real. Like when you have these companies, and I struggle with some of the ESG stuff that's out there now, and it's taking an effect on some of these major corporations that they have to come out with arguably inauthentic programs and processes because they have no fight in the game. They have no thought or reason to be in that wheelhouse. Again, of the environmentalism or whatever piece that they're trying to sell in that, but they have to do it either that or shareholders, like big funds like BlackRock, for instance, arguably runs the world, will not invest in you unless you have a score level that is appropriate. So you come up with the wildest, craziest, as you say, inauthentic program that you can put in place so to bump your ESG score. Well, but it's snake oil at that level. It doesn't feel real. McDonald's working on their ESG platform while they pump out more plastics, more pollution, more garbage food, more poison into the system is ironic to say the least, right? It just feels wrong. And the way that you said that just really hits home that when it doesn't feel right, does your consumer really value it at the end of the day? I think that's unique. That's cool.
Well, that, and when they actually get hit by pushback, they drop it like a hot potato and go, oh, you know what? That was her idea or his idea.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what was going on. So like, we're going to go back to doing what we were doing, and we fired them.
Right.
So we don't believe in that anymore. And because they're not authentic about it. But then there's other companies out there that maybe their opinion is not popular, or maybe their opinion is popular, but whichever way you go, and they get pushed back and they're like, no, this is what we're doing because we believe in it and we care about it. That company, for me, and for I think a lot of people, even if you disagree with it, holds a lot more. I believe in someone's word. And if you're just making it up, I just think not only is it inauthentic, it just doesn't make your company look good. Unfortunately, April, I think we're getting close to that hour that we talked about. And you know what? You've been absolutely delightful. The information you have given us about goal setting and knowing your vision, and the conversations that you've had with Pat, I think have been enlightening. And I think that a lot of people watching this will get a better idea about how to run a better business. And hopefully you reach out to April at Flow Office Wisdom. She's easy to contact. Like she said, she's everywhere, LinkedIn, on Facebook. A quick Google search and you will find her. Maybe just think about it and it'll appear on Google. Sorry, that was a little joke. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming on, April. You guys out there, volunteers, we have a lot more coming. As you know, we just launched our Sizzle Summer Extravaganza, where 4 podcasts are going to battle it out, tasting hot wings from the great Purple Tongue Hot Sauce, Michael, who was on our show. I'm telling you right now, I have tasted, and you guys will see soon, the first level of hot sauce, and it was delicious, but a little warm. So the last hot sauce we're tasting is a level 8. The first hot sauce that I taste was a level 2. So I don't even know, like, he had to make a whole new scale for this hot sauce. So I'm excited to see Pat eat it. Everyone's excited to see Pat eat it. Pat and I did some training on the weekend. I'm going to show you a video of it. Just getting ready for the hot sauce, doing some sit-ups, doing some running, doing some eating the hot sauces on different things. You guys will get to check it out soon. And it's going to be against the wonderful Sia, the beautiful Raquel, CJ, who is just a wealth of information. I suggest you check out their podcast as well. And I love you all. And I'm glad you joined us today. Let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together. Patrick?
April, again, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great conversation tonight. And I think that all too many entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, stumble and fumble through the process that you folks at Flow have made very simple and easy. And so those of you that are out there that are, first of all, thinking about, if you have an idea, if you have a concept, if you have a widget, if you have an XYZ, whatever you think, if you're looking to start a business, get in touch with April 1st. April 1st can guide you. You have that mentorship. You can have some conversations about what this looks like and how to plan. And it's one of those old adages is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And these folks, in what they do, it might not be sexy on the first day that you walk into her office, but by the end of it, you're going to thank April and you're going to go, I avoided a bunch of hurdles. I avoided a bunch of pitfalls, and they make it so much easier for you. So from me here, if you're out there, you're starting something, you got a product, you got an idea, you got a service, get in touch with Flow. They will end up guiding you down that path. They'll put you in touch with the right people. They're doing it all. They are a one-stop shop. So April, thank you again for joining us. You guys are doing a service for people that is life-changing. At the end of the day, if you can get this right, if you can get your finances right, your money right, your vision and mission right, you're changing people's lives. So I appreciate what you folks are doing. So from me, thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Let's make some money together. Now, April, I told you in the back area here that there are no gotcha questions. There's nothing crazy. But at the end of every one of our podcasts, we always make our guests leave with the final word, a word of wisdom, a word of inspiration. And this is where we stick you. This is the gotcha stuff. So, April, if you could sign us off with something you feel is important, we'd appreciate that.
Remember, always just do what you love.